Hello, welcome back to the O-gauge layout that I'm working on. And I'm not sure how exciting this week's video is going to be because it's all about some wiring, and so I need to get this traverser wired, get all the main board wired, and I've got absolutely loads of wires and connectors to work on. I've done some of the wiring so far, I've got my power supplies all wired up to a connector. I've extended my cables, so one seems to be massively longer compared to the other one. Started on the switch box, and I do have, here we go, these. So, and these are to switch the track. So that'll go in there, and then I can then go 1, 2, 3, depending on which tracks I want to use. So there'll be a 0 to turn them all off, and then a 1, 2, 3. So that should work all right. I've chose the slimmest sized ones, but I am going to put it inside this box anyway. And that one needs to be mounted on the actual sort of slide, the traverse itself. So let me just show you exactly where I've got to. Right, so I was just sort of shown before, but I fitted my CU. I've got all my connectors on the side, so I've now got my bus on the traverse itself. And I've got power coming from, so that's power coming in for the track, that's power going over to the, and I've just got this cable long enough to the traverse, and then I'll have the switches, and then so it'll power the positive feed to each one, and I've also got lights that's going to be running on here, so the common, and then there'll be constant power and switchable power via this small control panel and points. So this is going to take a good bit of time finishing this. Spent a few hours yesterday on this, making sure and trying not to get confused with how I'm going to wire it all. And then I've got to wire the main layout. So I'll come back to you here in a little while once I've got a little bit more how I'm doing this. Well, I've got everything wired to a degree. I've still got these to connect to the track, so which are those ones that are underneath there, so I've just got to flip that back over, but I need to work out which one is 1, 2 and 3 on the switch. I've had to move the one of the switches, so I've got a hole now, so but I'll be putting a bit of tape, and that'll have some sort of numbering system around there anyway, so it's not an issue. And then I've got my points and signal. So what I want to do is, when I flick the points, it flicks the signal at the same time. That's the plan. So with the main board, obviously you've got your signal control box there. That has positive feed continuously through it, through the connected board connections, through these and that just comes in on these wires here, and I've got it going to the points, the switch to the signal box. Obviously need to tidy a little of these cables up, cable tie them up a little bit tidier, but until I've checked everything again, I'll bust all the wires through just on an ohms check, and that all works. I thought instead of extending these wires, I thought it'd just be easier just to put some copper tape down and use that as like a bus. It was just easier, and Just makes it a bit neater, I think. This is the lighting circuit, so the buildings will light up, and any sort of street lights that I want to put in, or yard lights, once I've got them, I can add them onto this circuit. I've yet to test the tracks, but I've tested it with the just the multimeter, and that seems to work, so the signal's working there, and the lights. So the next thing to do is try and get that point working properly, and do a little bit more work to see if I can get all these rails working right. Well, everything's had a good clean, so I want to just make sure everything's running right, so we can see. And what's happened there? Maybe I need to do a little bit more cleaning. So let's just take that back out, and then I can then easily swap the track power So I've got to get some longer leads from the controller, but that's working fine with that switch. So, and all it is just simple, and then you've got offset in there, so there's no power. Actually, sorry, that is just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you've got no power then to anything. And that's all the wiring sorted. So quite happy with all that. So the only thing I would say is if I've got those lights on in the building, you can see a little bit of the cable through some of the frosted windows. So I might have to retake that building off, or take the back out and frost them from the inside as well. Right, now all that wiring's done, I thought it'd be time to start getting some details back on the layout. And I've got these little plastic kits to try and build, so I'm going to have a go at building these and getting them painted up. So I think getting the buffer slots done first should be relatively simple. If it's anything like the double O gauge and N gauge ones, it should be nice and easy. And it looks like there's no sprues or anything, so there's just some instructions, which should be straightforward. So not built this version before, so I'm just going to see how it goes together first. So. And we must have, because you've got the lamp on the top, we're going to keep the lamp because it is going to be sort of a steam era. I'm going to have to trim those off, I think, because they stick out quite a lot, but I'll wait until it's all glued and dried before I do that. But it seems really well made compared to the smaller gauges. And yeah, should be really quick to make. So I'm just going to take that one apart, glue it all together. I'm going to need to trim a few pieces off to get it to fit in, because it's going to be going on the hard standing. So I'm going to have to trim all these feet off. That should be quite good. So I'm going to just glue this together. I'm going to try this new glue I bought and get these on the way out. Well, I got all those, and while the glue was drying I just put them to one side and thought I'll make a start on this crane. And I thought the first job really I need to do is just start painting the parts up in a way. And your instructions are quite basic. It just gives you an exploded diagram that says put this together, do not glue here, do not glue there. So I thought, while they're on the sprue, I'll give them a paint up first. Just using just a bit of acrylic paints. Normally I'd spray, but I don't want to just spray everything. So I'm just going to give it a nice coat. I can always do a bit of touch up if I miss a bit. But this could take me a bit longer to build than those buffer stops, and a bit longer to paint. So I'm going to get all this painted and then just really have a go at putting it together. Well, that took a little bit longer than expected, but just needs a bit of weathering really. So looks pretty much how it should do. So need a bit more tension on that string, so maybe put something heavy on the end or just glue the pulley up. It doesn't really matter too much because it's never going to move again. So, but yeah, quite happy with that. Looks alright. Not exactly highest quality in a way until you get it weathered. It just looks like a piece of plastic. So that'll be a job, because I want to get this to look a bit like the concrete, like it is in the image. On all the rivets, put a bit of rust. So, and then just dirty it up, or dry brush it a little bit, I think. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how that's gone together. The buffer stops, I've painted them up. I did the main buffer beam in red, as you can see. Nice lamp on there. Glue's still drying, so just got to leave that to dry. But yeah, I mean, they look alright. I'm thinking of putting the crane about here on the layout sort of thing, so I mean, don't want to put it too far back. So, and then you can swing it out, but I'm not going to swing it out at the moment, but yeah, because I've not glued it into the base, so it allows it to just swing around, and you can always lift it out if you need to move the layout around. But I think something like that with, and then you've got the boat below it. Right, and the last job for this week, I want to get the Backscene on. And the reason why I want to get that on is because I want to simulate the Backscene on the actual layout itself. And I'm in position now to sort of apply the Backscene. So if you've seen any of my videos about applying vaccines in the past, you know this is a job I absolutely hate. So I'm actually going to see if we can get this to work this time. I'm not going to video it all, I'm just going to show you the results more than anything. But I use, and I put it somewhere, let me just find it. What I have found is the best glue is this Backscene glue. I was very sceptical when I first got this because I went, that just looks like wallpaper paste. And I thought it's expensive, but it actually works really well. You get one or two creases, but they seem to iron themselves out as it dries. If you get a really big crease, there's not a lot you can do about it. It will always be there. So it's just applying this really well. So, but that is the Backscene I have chosen this time. Quite a sort of a busy Backscene, but it's supposed to be sort of quite a rural scene, this one, and I want to put a few trees and I want to match this foliage. So that's where I'm going with that. So I'm going to get the backboards off and start getting this on. Right, I thought I've trimmed all the top off, ready to apply, and so this is going to be my first, and I'm going to just put that over the edge and bend it around. I've got 10 foot. The downside is I'm going to end up with a piece in the middle, so I'm going to end up with a joint in the middle of the Backscene. Hopefully it's not too bad, you know. So, but yeah, that's where I am. I've protected all the table, and I'm just going to get some of this Fugue glue. I know roughly where to sort of apply it because so. So I'm not going to let you watch me apply glue to a whole board. It's going to be a rather boring process. So you can come back when I get to apply this first piece of the Backscene. Right, here goes the first sheet. And it's going to go well. No glue on my hands, and no glue on the Backscene. I'm just going to let that dry a little bit before I trim it, and then I'm going to get the rest of them done. So come back when I've got all of them done. All the Backscene's done, and I've done on quite nice actually. So that'll be hidden anyway. So I'm still going to cut all the pieces out and just trim the edges and things like that, but that I just need to leave fully to dry. A little bit coming up there, so I'm going to need to just pop a little bit of glue. Same on there. Got a tiny little bit on the sky there. Not too bad. if we're going to get any glue, it's always on the sky, not on the where it can be hidden. But it's a few creases there, you know. So it's not massively obvious. So, but yeah, I mean, this is quite a nice Backscene, quite busy. So a couple of mistakes in it, it's okay. But a Backscene does make the layout, so I'm looking forward to getting those on. So I'm just going to leave them to dry fully before I trim them and get them on. Right, I think that really concludes this week's episode. I can't do much more. It's a Friday night again, but all the backdrops all looking good. I'm quite happy with those. They went on quite well. One or two marks, got a little bit of glue on the top there. You can see that join, which you will, you know, it's great on scenery like that where you can't see it, but always in the sky you definitely see it. A few minor creases, but nothing really major. Quite happy with how it applied. Dockscene's starting to come up with the crane. The buffers start to look good. I'm starting to build just a jetty just on here. I'm just testing the size with the barge just to make sure that I don't build it that far out. You know, so I need to build it about here. And then once the resin comes in, it should come up to about halfway, and then I don't want it to be, so I might need to raise it up a little bit more and bring it back. So gonna have to work on that. But apart from that, I think everything's good. One thing I am going to change, and it was a few weeks back, I built a traverser, and I'd got a comment from Kelly Ashford Trains, and she said to me it would have been better to build it as an end-to-end and with the fiddle yard, and I think she was right. I just didn't really have the space where I was going to go because maximum space was just over 7 foot, and with the scenic and the fiddle yard, that creates it as 7 foot with a traverser. And if I had a proper sort of fiddle yard to it, it's going to be 8 foot layout, 4 foot scenic and a 4 foot fiddle yard. But I think that's how it really should have been, and it probably would have made it more easier to use. So Kelly, you was right, and I appreciate your comments, and thank you very much. But I'm going to leave it here for this evening. I've got a bit more work to do, but it's nothing major or anything like that. So I will say thank you very much for watching, and I wish you a very good evening and take care.